Welcome to Cowboy Cartel The Podcast. We're live every Sunday at 8:30 p.m. Central on Facebook and YouTube. Join us to ask questions and be part of the conversation. If you can't make it, catch the podcast a few days later wherever you get your podcasts. We're truly grateful for the continued support from American Hat Company and Joby's Hats. American Hat Company, proud to be an American, proud to wear an American. American Hat is the official hat of Cowboy Cartel. And if you're looking for the perfect fit, look no further than Joby's Hats, our official hat shaper. Check out our new online hat shaping school and our store at cowboycartelgroup.com for the latest editions. Now let's get into it and see what's been happening this week.
Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Cowboy Cartel The Podcast. I'm Joe.
And I'm Lorena.
And with us tonight, we got very special guest, Justin Biltonen.
Hey, y'all.
Hey, thanks for being here, man. It's actually been several years we've been talking, and it seems like anytime you're in Texas, we're out of town or we've got something going on and we haven't been able to connect. But this weekend, you were here. You were playing at Casey's.
Yeah, spot in Keller, Texas.
In Keller. And so we were able to come out there and watch you, and we had a great time. How'd you like it?
It was fun. It was a good spot, and met a lot of friends there and stuff. And
yeah,
it was cool having my buddy Todd play fiddle with me. I think everybody had fun.
I was going to say, Todd was up there, and he was rocking the fiddle too, man.
Oh, yeah. He can burn it up. Dude is a very talented, multi-instrumentalist.
Yeah.
He plays everything.
Yeah, because he's in a band, and he doesn't play the fiddle in a band. He plays...
No, he plays, when he does the solo stuff, I think he plays guitar and sings, plays fiddle, plays mandolin and keys for Randy Rogers' band.
Right.
And he's been with them for a long time.
So. You said something funny up on stage the other night. You said in Tennessee you can't find a fiddle player at all.
Yeah.
You come down to Texas and
they're everywhere in Texas.
Everywhere.
Tough to find. I'm starting to find a couple more here and there in Nashville, but it's, some of those more real traditional instruments like pedal steel and fiddle kind of made its way out of the scene for a little while in Nashville, and it's always been here. So it's easier to find folks that play that kind of stuff.
Nashville is I think it's kind of changed, right? Because it used to be the country music capital, and now it's kind of everything.
Yeah. Pretty much everything's represented there, which is great. Pretty much all the businesses moved to Nashville, so that's going to bring, whoever they're working with. And it's opened up a lot of opportunities for different people that do different kind of stuff. So, country's still big there.
Oh, absolutely.
And I think now you're starting to see more kind of traditional sounding stuff come around. There's a lot of up and comers, and like my solo music has that kind of vibe, and a lot of other people that, love the old 90s and 80s country that are trying to bring at least some more of those elements back. So you're seeing kind of a little bit of a cultural shift with it too.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen some news stories lately. I think John Party just recently came out and said he doesn't even know what country music is anymore. It's changed so much, and
yeah, that's something I think people always just say though. I mean, it's every iteration. The people before it are like, oh, it's not country. I don't know what country is, and it's like it's kind of what country is, and then everything else is just kind of a little offshoot of it, inspired by it, and people get worried about labels and stuff, but I mean, there's room for it. If you don't like it, turn it off. I don't know. There's room for everything.
That's right. There is. I mean,
yeah.
And so for me, I listen to everything, rock and roll, country. I think my heart is in rock and roll. I grew up in the 80s and 90s, and so Metallica is my all-time favorite band, but also George Strait is heavy on my playlist.
Yeah.
But for the guys watching who don't know, you are the bass player for Three Doors Down.
Yeah.
You also have a solo career in country music, and you are a fantastic jewelry maker. You have some of your jewelry here. It's so it's pretty heavy in sterling silver and turquoise.
Yeah.
I love turquoise. And man, you make some really cool stuff, and we're going to talk about that here in a few minutes. But I want to talk about Three Doors Down. So for me, it's one of the, all-time iconic bands. You have a lot of people nowadays who younger people, like maybe my kids, maybe they don't know Three Doors Down. Maybe they've heard the song, but they don't know the band. When I was actually 2002, I was in the Navy, and Three Doors Down was on every radio station,
Yeah.
like every day. So it was the soundtrack, for that time in my life.
Yeah.
So you weren't there from the beginning. How long have you been with Three Doors Down?
Over 12 years now.
12 years.
Yeah.
That's a long time.
It's been a minute. It's gone by extremely fast.
So how is that kind of the balance there, right? So rock and roll on one side and then your country career on the other. How's that work out?
Works out fine. It's two different worlds, and something like I grew up, listening to country, loving country. I always, I was writing and doing that kind of stuff with country music in Nashville before I was, in the band. So I always kind of had those two sides, and it works well. I think, especially like a lot of our fans and stuff have like come over to countryside because they're like, this stuff's cool. Like, I like it. I like what he's doing. And they've, found other artists because of that too. So, I think it works out well because it's like just two different things.
So you play bass for Three Doors Down, but your solo career, you're a guitarist. That's your kind of where you started, was guitar.
Yeah. Started playing guitar when I was 10, and that's what I did for a long time. And then picked up bass. I played bass in church in high school whenever like we needed a bass player at different times. So it wasn't like totally foreign to me. But yeah, really, obviously had to dive into it whenever I was asked to play with the band. So
of course, I mean that's high level.
Yeah.
So you would have to, be really proficient to get a gig like that. But so, I can't imagine the amount of travel you have because you're either touring with the band, what does your schedule look like? Because you're either traveling for yourself and your solo career, you're traveling with the band, or you're in the studio. How does that work?
It's always different. I don't think there's ever been like a set schedule for anything. It's just kind of whatever comes up, and you kind of got to chase it down, especially with the solo stuff, because I'm still like, very hungry with that, and always looking for gigs, always looking for opportunities, and trying to get my name out there as a solo artist. And with that stuff, it's just kind of whatever comes up. If it it makes sense, go do it. And something that I always kind of did, even before I was with Three Doors and then now, and it's like chase down opportunities when they come up, because you never know where it's going to lead.
That's true.
Yeah. So yeah, no real set schedule, just kind of whatever I'm doing.
For your solo career, do you play mostly your own original songs, or is it a mix of original and covers? Or
it's primarily originals.
Okay.
Sometimes I'll get a gig where it's a little bit longer, and I'll put in a lot of stuff. Like I love playing 90s country. I think it was some of the best writing and cool singing and melodies, and I just love the storytelling behind it. So a lot of the songs that inspired me are still the ones that I like playing. So it seems like people like those songs. So when they hear them, either they're like, oh, I love that song, or they're like, oh, I forgot about that song. It's so cool. So kind of just depends on the gig. If I'm get an opening slot for somebody, like I opened for Doug Stone last year, and which was really cool. He's, iconic 90s country artist, and it was like a 45-minute set. So I did my songs just to, make sure everybody heard my songs, because I didn't have to play as long. So just kind of depends.
All right. What's so how many albums do you have out currently?
I've got one EP and then a whole lot of singles, just because that's kind of the way of the business now. Everybody puts out singles, and you try to put out as many as you can, as often as you can, to hit algorithms and all that stuff that I don't really understand with streaming. But a lot of songs.
I'll tell you, I don't understand the algorithms either. Sometimes we hit them, sometimes we don't.
It's hit and miss.
Yeah. I think it's kind of anything you're doing with social media or anything online. It's just like every time I talk to somebody, even if they have success with something, it's like, oh, this went viral. It's like the next thing has 2 views, and you're like, Well, I don't know what I'm doing. Thought I did, but I don't.
We found out it's the controversial stuff that gets the views. Anything that we think is really cool and informative, it gets like, I don't know, a couple thousand.
Yeah.
You
So
get some.
you want to talk about the JFK assassination for a little bit or something?
Yeah, probably not that. I mean, I'm
Jimmy. My buddy Jimmy over there, he's tuned in with that stuff.
He's tuned in. We're gonna have to talk to Jimmy. We met Jimmy this weekend at your show, and really cool dude.
Oh yeah.
And so we're gonna have to talk to him about some of the stuff he's got going on too.
Definitely should.
All right, let's talk about your jewelry real quick.
Yeah.
So we talked, and you said you actually started in leather work, and then you got interested in. How did you get interested in silver work?
I think I always loved it. I'd collected stuff from the time I was a little kid. Growing up in North Carolina, we were right there at the Cherokee Indian Reservation. I remember being a little kid and we'd go in all the gift shops and, get a ring and stuff. Because especially back then in like the early 90s and stuff, it wasn't as expensive. So it was all, in those shops everywhere. And then once I started traveling, I'd always find pieces or, especially going out west and, being older and playing and having some more money, like collecting cool stuff. But did leather work for a long time. I always did kind of artistic stuff and working with my hands, did woodwork. But yeah, with the jewelry, I just always wanted to kind of figure it out. And good buddy of mine, he lives over in Hazel, Texas, rocking out hardware and rocking out jewelry. Justin Walker, he's been doing it forever. He's master silversmith and engraver. And we've been friends for a long time. And in about 2020, we were shut down with touring. It was looking pretty sketchy around the music business for a while. And I was like, I'll try to see what I can do with this. And looked on YouTube a little bit and then sent him a message. And he's like, come on down here. I need some help around Christmas. And I went to his shop in Hazel and sat and cut turquoise. And he showed me how he did different tricks for soldering. And yeah, just a wealth of knowledge, and he's been very helpful this whole journey so far. About 5 years of doing this. So.
It's actually funny that you mentioned the shutdown, and I never thought about that for the music industry. But I remember seeing actually Metallica. They did like a live stream where they were all in different houses, different places, and they did this live stream.
Yeah, it got kind of weird there. Everybody's trying to figure something out. I did a lot of stuff. Just sitting in the living room playing and singing because you still had to kind of scratch that itch of playing live and playing for people. And I was like, well, I guess this is what we'll do. And then I think, especially with the music, I think that's the first time since like the history of music that it was just gone. Like you couldn't, or you weren't supposed to, or whatever it was that people were saying, like live shows were just like gone.
Yeah.
Because even in a bad economy or whatever's going on, people go listen to music. That's always kind of been an escape. And I think it was kind of a shock for everybody that like, oh, wow, that can be taken away too. So.
How long were you guys down? A couple of years or?
I'll say it was about a year and a half, 2 years. We didn't really tour. I got down here and played NFR when it was in Fort Worth that year. Because there's a couple states that were still, just wide open. Florida, I played in Florida a bunch. Texas, I played here a bunch because there's a big chunk of that where people were like, yes. We're open. Come on. Nashville didn't stay closed too long. It kind of got back to normal. But any kind of big tour, like anything that Three Doors was doing or like anything that had like, a big crew and a lot of people traveling was shut down.
Just wasn't happening.
Yeah.
Tell us about some of these pieces you have here.
Yeah. Always been drawn to silver and turquoise and some of these pieces I got the turquoise I found out at the Tucson Gym Show this year. Brought it back. I don't know. I like using different whatever stone kind of catches my eye, I kind of build around that, or I'll have an idea for something and kind of try to find something that'll fit it right. So I like big chunky stuff. I like kind of that old school Southwest look. And then hat accessories are just cool. So yes. Like all the hat picks and the little clip-on things that are cool. And just kind of put my own little twist on it.
Lorena and I both have one of your hat pins. I love them. I kind of need one for each hat now.
Yeah,
Yes.
hey, let me know.
Good idea.
I know a guy.
Yeah, I bet you do. So tell everybody where they can find your jewelry.
Sacred West Vintage is my Instagram handle. Justin Three Doors Down, and then that too are my two that you can kind of find everything on. And
Right.
then sacredwestvintage.com is the actual web store. So I've got stuff for sale all up on there. Or if you're in Santa Fe, drop by Maloof's on the plaza. I've got a bunch of my pieces in the gallery there.
Is that right?
Mhm.
Okay. All right. That's cool. I remember when I first found your jewelry, there wasn't a lot on the website. Now it's grown. You've grown
It kind
some
of
stock, and
ebbs and flows with
Yeah.
my tour schedule.
of course I can
And,
imagine.
Yeah, sometimes I don't know. Sometimes I just kind of run dry on what I want to make. So it's like whatever's up there is what you get. Or sometimes I'll have a lot of custom work and people that are requesting things, and the website kind of goes to the side while I'm making all this stuff. But I've gotten to the point now where I can like make stuff a lot faster, and the process is a lot quicker. And especially when you first get started with some of that stuff, you'll work all day, shaping something, and go to solder it and melt the whole thing, and you're like, that's hours of work just gone. You got it, and it's not really gone because it's still silver, but you got to start all over with it.
I remember you were talking about the price when you were a kid and you'd go to the Indian reservation and you pick it up
Mhm.
pretty cheap. I was just thinking, silver I think was $5 an ounce in
Yep.
the early 90s.
When I started, it was at say $12 or $13, and now it's up to like 34.
Yeah.
So it's constantly rising.
Ouch.
We've had some silver in the past, kind of a stockpile, and when it hit, pretty high, we got rid of it. So I mean,
Yeah. So I don't really work with a whole lot of gold either.
Yeah.
It's real expensive.
yeah, I mean that's gone crazy, and that was kind of the thing with this hat. I was like, I would love to have one on this hat, but it's got the gold buckle, and it just didn't match.
Yeah.
So
There's different things that I could do now that I figured out the process a little bit, but I was always scared to, spend a lot of money and, mess something up.
Yeah.
And be like, well, I don't know what to do with this now.
well, like you said, you can always melt it down, right?
Yeah.
And start over again.
Yeah.
So there's that.
A buddy of mine, he has this little gold plating thing that he travels with. He's another silversmith friend of mine, Matt Herring with Hallett Peak. But his small pieces like that, he just puts in a solution, and it's got, like this kind of microscopic gold in it.
Right.
Whenever you add electricity to it, it plates the piece. And it was pretty cool to watch because within seconds it's gold plated.
I've seen that done. I've seen videos of it done. I don't think I've ever seen it in person, but it's pretty cool.
And it's pretty. We were at the Western Heritage Cowboy Museum this weekend. And he was doing it in the back shop of the gift shop in there, and everybody
Really?
was like, "Wow,
Yeah. We love the Western Heritage Museum. It's great.
very cool place."
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the amount of hats and boots that they have in there from, the late 1800s, early 1900s.
I love seeing all the old weapons, like the
Yes.
tons of old revolvers and rifles and all that kind of stuff. I love that stuff. So.
Yeah, me too. I mean, the hats, though, to see the progression for me, the progression of the hats over time was really interesting,
Mhm.
and kind of talk about stuff like that. And,
Yeah.
and, the hat you were wearing today or I'm wearing today is not the same hat they started out with.
Yeah.
So just seeing, that over time is pretty interesting.
I loved all the real tall round
Yeah,
stuff.
right?
Those are cool.
10-gallon hat.
Those are coming back, I think.
So yeah, you know what? California, those guys are wearing the 7-inch crowns.
Yep.
And I just saw on Instagram today, there's a guy, Samson. He did JB Zilke's hat, and he's got 6-inch crowns or 6-inch brims
Mhm.
ready to go. I mean, like that's crazy.
Yeah.
That's huge.
Everybody loves the old school stuff. I think a lot of that fashion is kind of coming back around when you see like cool stuff from the 50s, and it's like, they had cool vibe going on.
So, well, I mean, and back then they were wearing really short brims in the, the 50s, 60s, especially in the city. They were wearing the, 3.5 inch brim maybe, and then 4-inch brim was kind of king up into, I don't know, early 2000s, mid 2000s. Everybody was still wearing 4-inch brims. What are you wearing there? What size is that?
I think this one's a 3.5.
3.5.
Yeah.
It does not actually look small on you, though. I mean, it looks like a smaller brim, but it doesn't look small on you. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, this is one of my favorite hats. It's the evergreen and
Yeah,
like that.
I love
Brown.
the evergreen. I wear it. It used to be my travel hat when we were traveling a lot. I would just take it with me because it was easy and kind of went everywhere with me. That's a pretty punchy crown you got going on there too. It's a West Texas punch.
Yeah, I like that style. So I feel like it looks cool.
It's coming back. I mean,
Yeah.
Ladana's got one. We did the Walker crease for her. I think we did a video on that, and she liked it so much. I think she's gonna keep it.
Yeah, she is. Do you always wear the same shape, Justin?
I've got a bunch of them this shape. I've got some that are a little different, but the ones that I wear the most have been the shape.
Yeah.
I think it just kind of fits me.
Yeah, I mean, it looks good. I like it. So let's talk about where you started a little bit. You're from North Carolina originally?
Yeah.
And then
Grew up in the mountains.
Yeah, I love the mountains out there. I spent a lot of time in North Carolina, Charlotte, Asheville, and all of that. That was back mid 90s, I guess. So I haven't been there in a long time. And then where'd you go from there?
Grew up there and moved to Nashville about 13 years ago.
Okay.
So.
All right. And so you were in the Nashville scene and you knew the guys in Three Doors Down, and were you kind of a fan of the band then, or?
Yeah, I mean, they were definitely on my radar and from growing up, and I mean, their songs were on the radio all the time.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I was a fan. I love rock music and I like good songwriting, and they always had good songwriting.
So how did you actually get into the band? How did that happen?
I knew those guys really well. I was always in town, like writing, doing different stuff, and like years before I even moved there, and pursuing music things and trying to write and do country, and just always had a reason to be there. And it seemed like anytime I was there, they were also having some kind of event going on, and they'd invite me out, and like, oh, this is cool, and just kind of naturally became friends with the guys. And with my leather work, I would do stuff for the charity because we have a charity the band's ran for 20 plus years. It's called the Better Life Foundation, and they do a big event every year, and like I'd have stuff for it, and just always, kind of around in like a kind of cool organic way. And when their old bass player left, they asked me to take over.
I mean, that's pretty cool. Did you have to audition, or was it just like, hey, I know you, and you?
Kind of. I mean, like they wanted me to obviously make sure like I'd show up and be able to like play something. But we played 2 songs together, and they were like, "Do you have a passport?" I was like, "No." I was like, "I can get one." And somehow our tour manager at the time, he got me a passport back in like 2 days.
Really?
Crazy, because we rehearsed for 2 weeks after that, and then my first show with the band was in Moscow. So we did a couple shows in Russia and then a month in Europe. So it was definitely like sink or swim, go for it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So all that stuff just happened super fast.
Yeah, it sounds like it. So was that your first trip out of the country, or was that?
Yeah, I mean, I think I'd been to Canada when I was a little kid,
Right.
and that was the first like real like out of the country trip.
Yeah, I mean, that's no joke, right? So
Yeah. I mean, we had a couple days in Moscow before the show and got to go tour it, and I don't really think anybody's going to be doing that again anytime soon.
Yeah.
So pretty cool experience. We did that in St. Petersburg, and then a bunch of stuff all over the rest of Europe. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Pretty cool experience.
Absolutely. Now you mentioned you guys practice together. Now, I didn't even think about something like that. I just figured at this level, you just kind of play. But do you guys practice on a regular basis?
No, definitely not anymore. We did when I first joined the band, because I had to get acclimated to
All right.
the way they do stuff and their system, and ears and monitors and the drummer and all that kind of stuff. And so in the early days when I first joined, we did. But then for a tour, we just kind of rehearse. So it'll be a day or two so that the crew can set up, make sure everything's working on their end and the show's running correctly on their end, like lights, sound, all that stuff. And then we'll run through, whatever songs we're adding or taking away from the set or changing. So it's not really like a practice, like we need to get together and,
It's more of a
once a
rehearsal
week.
for
So it's
for all the gear.
yeah, it's more like almost like a rehearsal for a play. You would, run through everything with lights and sound and how everything's going to kind of move on the stage to make sure,
Yeah.
it all works when you go live and there's people in front of you.
Yeah, I mean, I can't imagine what that's kind of like on a big production scale like that. I mean, just for what we do here, it's at least an hour of setup, and then when you got here, I mean, it's like another hour of checking audio and lighting and all that stuff. But I mean, when you're talking that kind of level, I'm sure it is a couple of days or a couple. I mean, I don't know. You guys probably have it down to a science, or your crew.
Well, it's
has
a
it down
lot
to
of people
science.
who are really good at their jobs. So there's a lot of individual jobs that kind of come together, and all those people are really good at them. So
Yeah.
just kind of.
Well, that's the difference. We just half-ass what we do.
It's just us two.
That's true. Now we need a crew. That way we can just come in and sit down.
One day.
There you go. Problem is you got to pay them.
Yeah, I know, right? I can barely pay her.
That's a problem.
Right?
So you sing, you play the guitar, you play the bass, and you make jewelry. What would you like your legacy to be?
Wow, but I don't think anybody's ever asked me that question. I guess just as an artist and somebody that like contributed positively to this stuff and to the music world, and hopefully people don't like think I was a jerk or something. I try to be nice to everybody and kind and respectful to folks, and yeah, I guess I was talented artist in some way, and that I was nice to people.
Well, it's
help
funny.
somebody, get into music or help them get into art of some kind.
That's interesting. I want to talk about that real quick. But first, I always tell people that you are an artist, not just because of your music career, but because of all of the stuff that you're doing, right? So, the jewelry is fantastic, and I have zero artistic ability, and like I will do the editing or make our photography or make some kind of a flyer or whatever for what we're doing, and it's very hard for me. I'll spend hours in Photoshop trying to make a graphic, and just because I don't have that artistic ability. I really appreciate somebody who does, and it's amazing to me. But I don't have it in me where I can just pull it out and say, let's create something from scratch. That's kind of an interesting ability to have.
Yeah, it's I mean, sometimes it happens like that. Sometimes I'll do the same thing. I'll just like stare at something and be like, what am I doing? I'll kind of lose track and you got to refocus. But I think the main talent that I have is like I can kind of see a finished product in my head and kind of work through the steps to get there. And I have to work very hard at those steps, but I can kind of see what I need to do, and it kind of helps me put something together, or, finish a piece or something, because I got a vision of what I want it to look like.
See, I'm almost the opposite of that, because I don't have the vision for the end product, but if I can take inspiration from something else, I can figure out the steps to make it happen. No problem. That's the easy part for me. It's the end product, and the vision of that is what I don't have. So everything that I do is I'm usually inspired by something else.
Yeah.
Not that it's a complete ripoff, but I need
Legal
inspiration.
disclaimer.
No, I get it. Everybody's kind of pulling from this collective
Yeah.
idea. You see something, and you're like, oh, that's cool, and try to put a twist on it.
Well, I mean, music career, I've heard it described as there's nothing new in music anymore. Like everybody's pulling from something that somebody else has done. There's only so many chords, right? And so
there's only, I mean, you really just are putting your twist on something, and hopefully people like it.
Yeah.
But I mean, whatever it is, there's always going to be somebody that doesn't like it. There's going to be someone that's, leaving you crappy comments on something, no matter what you're doing. It's the age of the internet. It is what it is. But everybody just kind of, puts their whatever part of them they can on something. And like I said, we're all inspired by stuff. We see stuff. There's art and music. And then if you make art and music, you're going to be inspired by those things. And it's going to be something somewhat recognizable, because if it wasn't, people wouldn't listen to it or wouldn't buy it, because they need that kind of connection to it. And then a little bit of a twist, something different, and then they have a connection to you as an artist. And I think that's kind of just kind of what it is. I mean, we're all kind of doing something similar, I guess.
So how does that affect you when you're writing music? Because I would imagine if you write something and you find out later that, oh, it's very close to this specific piece that somebody else created. Yeah. Does that, I mean, legally, like then you have to share?
Yeah, it's kind of
it's crazy, right?
Weird world with that. Some of it I don't really understand, because you'll hear songs come out and you're like, how's that like the exact same thing? But again, there's only so much you can do. But personally, I try, like, if I'm really writing something, I'm excited about it, like try to be like, is that something that I've heard before and used in a song that's like very popular and recognizable, and then try to change it just a little bit so it's not totally on that. Or you don't want to like just directly rip off something, but try your best not to.
Try not to.
I think most songwriters and stuff are kind of conscious of like, all right, that's a little too close to that melody. Let's think of something else and change it. Or like, these words together are the exact words that this other songwriter used. Maybe we need to think of something else.
Yeah.
So
I've heard, I think it's George Strait. He, like a lot of his music, he buys from a music writer, right?
Yeah, he cuts it. It wouldn't be like, let me give you $10 for that song. I mean, I think that does happen, but yeah, he uses outside songwriters and kind of always has.
I've heard that that's kind of the key to his success and why he's so prolific.
Yeah.
And so I was curious if you did something like that as well, or do you write all?
If a friend or somebody I knew like really had a song that I was like, man, that is awesome, I'd totally cut it. But I write all my stuff and still have, and as long as that inspiration's there. And I think too, it's since I do both, like I want to do both. Yeah. So sing and songwrite, got a passion for writing. And sometimes, a lot of times in country, there's, really, really good, amazing singers and performers, and they either don't like the writing side or it's just not their talent. Their talent's performing and singing. And then that's where a songwriter comes in, because their talent is writing. And I don't know, it's all different. There's a lot of stuff now just because the music business has changed, where the artists are also getting involved more with the writing. But too, I mean, like you think about like a big artist, like, I don't know, like Jason Aldean or something, that constantly has to be putting out records, constantly touring and constantly promoting stuff. It's like they probably don't even really have the time to sit and write a whole record of just them writing songs.
Right.
So that's where the outside songs come from.
How about Three Doors? Do you guys sit down and write music together, or how does that work?
Yeah, sit down and write. It's been a little while since we did a record, but the last one we put out, Us in the Night, we, for several months, probably close to a year, just get together a couple times a week, and somebody would have an idea and throw it around, and so, eventually came up with a bunch of songs.
I mean, that's pretty cool to get a bunch of creative minds all in one place and collectively come up with songs, right?
Yeah, you'd think. No, it's usually great. You got those days sometimes where it's just like too many cooks in the kitchen kind of thing,
Yeah.
and but everybody gets along really well, so it makes it a little easier. But yeah, sometimes, I mean, it's always different. There's never like a really, like, this is the formula you have to do. Like, sometimes just you and another person sit down and write an amazing song, or other times you get in there and like the whole band's jamming and it comes together that way. Or I don't know, songwriting in Nashville, sometimes you got 5 or 6 people sitting there, and sometimes it's like, all right, there's too many ideas, there's too many people throwing in, and nothing really gets done. Or it's just like, bam, this was great because this person's idea got us rolling, and we're turning to this and this and this, and we came up with this great song because everybody was, kept it moving. So it's always different. And sometimes I just drive down the road and a song, like, we got quite a few songs that I put out and that I'm putting out now that were just solo writes.
So in a situation where you have too many cooks in the kitchen, is there somebody with the final say in the band, or how does that work?
Yeah, it's somebody's definitely always has, like, their management or one of the band members or whoever's, deciding that they want to sing the song. And it's kind of the same with, cutting outside songs from songwriters and stuff. Somebody's going to have the final say. Somebody.
I'm sure. I mean, music and music rights are very difficult. All of our stuff is licensed. Everything that we use is licensed, and sometimes even with licensing services, we run into issues where the license isn't recognized. I mean, we had one that we spent months. We had to actually go to the artist after we had it licensed, through a music service, and we had to actually go to the artist and get permission from him.
Yeah.
Even though we paid for it, right? So
yeah. It's a lot of moving parts with that stuff. It's
Yeah.
not as easy, like, hey, can we use that song? It's like, yeah, but here's all these other things that you got to do to get that song. So
Yes.
yeah.
It's I mean, music actually makes it's in everything, right? So
Yeah.
any commercial you've ever seen, any movie, there's a
Anywhere
movie
you
track.
ever go.
Yeah.
If you ever go in a store or a restaurant or a bar, it's
There-
probably music playing.
Absolutely.
And if
So-
there's not, it's weird. You're like, oh, this is what a stale, like, odd environment. And you like, it's like unnatural to not have music in all those places.
That's right. And so we have to have it, either in the beginning or in the end of either a podcast or a video or whatever. So it's it was something new to me, right? I didn't know how to do that. I didn't know how to license music or anything like that. So that was something else we had to learn when we started doing this.
Yeah.
And then Lorena helps find the right music because we've already discussed my non-ability for
I have a good ear.
Yeah.
for artists.
That's important. I mean, that's a whole other talent when it comes to especially something like this where you're putting together a production, like, an important part.
Yeah, absolutely.
And about that, I have a question.
Sure.
Yeah.
Who are your main influences, musically speaking?
Oh, geez. I feel like that changes a lot too. There's some staples that I always kind of go back to. I love Brooks and Dunn, love George Strait. All the old classic rock stuff is always a big influence. And then getting into stuff like Tom Petty, and like I love Chris Isaac. Just cool vibes with all that stuff. So I think there's some staples there, but sometimes it's, hear something that's kind of new and you're like, oh, it gives me an idea. That's cool. But there's some that are consistent.
It's interesting. You mentioned Tom Petty. I grew up, like I said, in the 80s, and my father was big into, classic rock and roll. Bob Seger, Tom Petty, Mellencamp. Mellencamp was huge back then. So, that's kind of where I grew up. And my mom, on the other hand, she listened to country music all the time. So I had both worlds. And I think that's
Yeah.
probably what influenced me and why my playlist looks like it does today.
Mine was the opposite. Dad grew up country and loved country and was playing and singing country all the time. Then mom was very much into classic rock.
Nice. So that's that. It's funny how, how those early influences affect you in later life.
Yeah. And it's all, the stuff that you grew up with for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
comes back in at some point.
Yes, it does. Are either of your parents artistic as well?
Yeah, they're both pretty artistic. Dad sings. My sister sings a lot. Mom's always making something.
Yeah. I can't carry a tune in a bucket.
I can sing.
Yes, Lorena can sing actually. We were at karaoke one night. She got up there and people were amazed, and I was
very cool.
I rocked the stage.
Yes, and I can't sing at all. I have other talents, I guess, just not artistic.
So what is your process when you write songs? Do you listen to music? Do you prefer silence? How do you
That's a good question.
inspire yourself?
If I'm actually like sitting down to write, it's usually just silence. You don't want like too much outside influence. With songwriting though, like at least for me, like it just kind of comes out of nowhere sometimes. Like be driving and think of something, or somebody will say something that part of it's like, oh, that'd be a cool line, and then you just kind of the wheels start turning. Or sometimes you just get a melody of something. There's not even really words, and you just kind of work through the melody with like just kind of making up stuff because you're like, that would be a really cool chorus part, and then eventually add the words you come up with. Or sometimes just sitting and noodling on a guitar and end up accidentally doing something cool, and then you're like, oh, let me see if I can repeat that and add it to this. And it's always kind of different.
I guess I always thought one or the other came first, right? Either the music comes first or the lyrics come first. I didn't know which one. So, but is there a process where, all right, I have one, I need the other, or how does that work?
Yeah,
Is it the
that
same?
happens all the time. I mean, I have words written down that I'm like, these would be cool together as something, and start trying to put a melody to it, and then eventually try to find the chords that go with it. Like, especially when I'm driving, a lot of times it's just me singing an idea into a iPhone notes, and get home and then try to figure out the guitar part that I need to be playing with it.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess I never thought about that too. You would have to have, I mean, if something comes to you and you're driving, you have to have someplace to put it, right? So yeah. I didn't think, either just read it into notes or whatever. So
sometimes you just sing it into the notes, or just type in the idea real quick. And, I always joke, because like you go to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame or the Country Music Hall of Fame, they'll have stuff like, this was Waylon Jennings' handwritten lyrics, and this is where the Beatles wrote down all these songs, and like they're up there in the glass. And I'm like, another 10 years when like new artists are getting in, it's going to be like, here's the iPhone that they wrote this hit song on, and it's just going to be in a glass case, so they got to keep charged all the time so you can see the notes. And just the technology change is funny. I went through a whole thing where I was like, I got to carry a notebook, write these ideas down, and so that there's like a tangible evidence of this song somewhere. And that that went away. I just went back to that notes.
Well, I mean, that's interesting, because that's a different kind of aspect, right? Do you need analog as for your process, or does the digital just work for you? And so I
think
get it.
Anything getting the idea down is like, for me at least, and like I do like writing in notebooks and stuff, because it's kind of a different kind of tactile thing that you're doing.
Yeah.
And it reminds you that you can have handwriting. I think that's a big thing a lot of people are kind of missing nowadays, is like, you go to write, when was the last time you had to like write something down? You're like, well, God, why is this in all caps? Like, what am I doing? Like, why are my letters so weird? Like, I used to do this every single day, and now you're just used to.
Yes. Yeah. It's, I mean, the world is changing.
Mm.
Technology is changing. So what, I guess, what is the biggest piece of technology that has helped you or hurt you over time in your career since you started?
Social media for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, that technological leap that connected everybody is like amazing, and it's also like the downfall of society. It's like
100% agree.
it's at all times it's like the highest of high and the lowest of low, and the dregs of society. And then like, wow, what a great recipe I just found. And then like the comments are like, you're a piece of crap.
Yes.
God, your spaghetti sucks. I hope you die. And you're like,
Yes.
oh boy. So I think there's going to be years and years and years of mental health research on the effects of social media.
It's funny because you know what it's given people anonymity, right? So they're not in your face and you can't smack them, so they say whatever they want.
Yep.
And
they do say whatever they want.
They do, and half of them, half of them are nuts. But
I always tell
wrong.
people
half
like,
of them are wrong, I guess.
Whatever you do, don't read comments. Just if you're posting stuff, just stay out of it.
I have a comment reader.
Yeah.
That's me.
I don't read the comments unless she says, "Hey, listen to this comment." Most of the time, if you're getting a response from comments from me, she's read it to me and said, "What is your comment?" And the comment is from me, but it goes through her. It's the only way to keep myself sane, I guess, right?
Yeah.
Because
that's kind of the trick is like, having a social media presence and, being active with it, but then also keeping yourself sane and keeping yourself present in the real world, I think is a big thing. Like,
yeah. Well, I tell you, we do this. This is our full-time job. This is what we do, social media, either podcast or videos or whatever. And I have a personal Instagram and Facebook. I can't tell you the last time I ever posted on it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's been years. So, I mean, I can't do this all day. And then I have no bandwidth to go and look at my own personal social media. There's just nothing there for me.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
that's why I see like so many people, like once they hit a certain level with it, they get somebody else that deals with it.
Yeah. Are you at that level yet?
No. I wish I was. I really wish I was.
So you handle all your own social media and photography and all that stuff.
Yep. Especially with the jewelry business. I mean, it's, constantly making and posting and doing all that kind of stuff. So
yeah,
I've tried to do like process videos and, like to time lapse or set stuff up. And then I just end up like messing a piece up because I'm trying to focus on doing the film and social media part. And I'm like, you know what, screw this. And I'm just going to make this thing and hopefully somebody buys it. I don't know.
I mean, I think it'd be really cool. We talked about this the other day. You just got to get a couple GoPros, set them up, send us the footage, and we'll make a video for you. Yeah. And then you don't have to worry about it.
I will take you up on that.
We'll take care of it.
Yeah, we will absolutely do that.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Let's do it.
I mean, I'm always editing. I didn't today. I should have been, but sometimes you get burned out on that. I mean, I can legitimately sit in editing for 8+ hours. And like, there's been times I'll get up early in the morning, edit all day, and it'll be 7 o'clock, and she'll be like, "Are you still in here?"
I have to drag him out of the office.
Yeah,
it's a full-time job.
In the beginning, I mean, I would do 16 hours editing, and I just can't do that anymore.
Yeah,
I mean, like,
that's
we
too
have
much.
to. Yeah.
So how do you deal with stress, Justin? Do you have any hobbies?
Heavy drug use. No, I'm kidding.
Well, I mean, you are a rock star.
No, I work out. I try to hike and do stuff outside. That usually helps. Yeah, that's about it. I think just being active, moving, play golf, do some stuff that's just like not related to anything else, and it's pretty nice.
Yeah, I mean, I have a hard time with that. Anytime we go or do something, it's related to what we're doing, right? So, I mean, there's always an opportunity especially where we're at, to tie something into our travel.
Mhm.
But you traveling, so I traveled for years, and this is something we tried to do, but I failed miserably at it. Is every time you're somewhere, you got to go see something there, right?
Yeah, that's a big thing.
Yeah.
Any amount of traveling or touring that we do, like you can really drive yourself crazy if like all you see is, backstage and then the bus, backstage and the bus, and like you don't ever get out of anywhere. And I've always like there was a commercial for hotels, like some people have to travel, some people get to travel. And I've always been on like I get to do this, it's a blessing, and I always make sure to go see these places. And whatever little town, there's going to be something cool. There's going to be a restaurant or a brewery or something historical. And I love history. So
Yes.
anytime we travel, I'm going to a museum or I'm going to historic sites or anything that's, in that realm or something outdoors, like there's a national park or something, like very adamant about going to do that stuff. And I think that it definitely keeps you sane when you travel, and it's, stress free, and not a lot of people get to travel the way I do. And there's a lot of people that, never really leave their little area except for their 2-week vacation. And I just don't ever take that for granted. I feel like, because again, like 2020 showed me like it could go away in a heartbeat. And I just want to be able to see everything. And that is a good way to kind of de-stress and manage that. When you're traveling, you get done with a long drive and you go walk around a little town and stuff and clear your head and go see something that you haven't seen before. It's pretty cool.
I mean, I have actually met people who've never left the state they were born in.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, it is it's a thing, right?
Yeah.
People just stay where they're at.
Yeah. Which is, totally fine.
Yeah.
Do your thing. But if you have to travel and get to travel and are lucky enough to, be mobile and the ability to go see stuff, like get out there and do it.
Where's the coolest place you've ever been? That's
a good question. I really love coming to Texas. It's just so, it's a huge state anyways.
It is.
And like, there's so many different places that have, like totally different landscape and totally different culture and cool stuff. And it's, I don't know, I love coming here. I'm always finding something new, and there's great people. Coolest place I've been to recently was outside Santa Fe. It's a little place called Sankawi, and it was cliff dwellings from the Anasazi, but it's like they call it like an outdoor museum, and you walk through and they built these big ladders that you climb up like the way that they did to get to the different parts, and you're walking around and there's 5,000-6,000-year-old pottery everywhere.
Yeah.
And everybody just leaves it and pick it up, look at it. It's really cool, but like nobody's taking stuff, and you're just in this like kind of really interesting, historic, spiritual place. And that was pretty awesome. I really enjoyed that day.
So is that, I think I've seen pictures of this where there's just holes in the cliffs.
Yeah. So those are like all over New Mexico.
Yeah. Is that right?
That's like a specific place that, they just dug into the side, and there's a bunch of cool things. Like there's places that have the openings for, where they lived, and then there'll be these holes where they had like posts put in and a covering. They're like, they carved out little stairs going up out of the rock, and it's just really cool. It's beautiful up there, and it's just a cool thing to kind of like experience the history too. Like you're really walking amongst it. You're not like just looking at something in a museum or it's off in the distance and you can't get to it. It's like you really can just walk around, pick up pottery. You're like, this is crazy.
It's funny. We were just talking the other day. We have been through New Mexico many times. We go from Texas to Arizona. We've never spent any time in New Mexico. So
very cool.
Yeah, it's something we definitely need to make
Love
a special trip.
The red chili sauce too.
Yeah,
it's my favorite. Yeah, food's great.
All right, we're gonna have to go check it out. One of that. Where was that? It was down in South New Mexico where we stopped in that little historic town.
Oh yeah.
And there was like one restaurant. It was in the middle of nowhere. You could see the Mexican border basically from where we were at, and we had
our cell phone was like, "Welcome to Mexico."
Yeah, we had great Great food though. It was one horse town.
Yes. And what about internationally? What country would you say has,
The two off the top of my head, Japan's really cool, and Germany's a lot of fun. It's another huge area, bunch of cool cities, good food. It's easy to get around in, great beer, tons of history. And then Japan was cool because it's just so different than everything else, and there's like a lot of people, a lot of beautiful stuff, a lot of history there as well. And then just like it's one of those places like once you get away from like airports and from the military bases and stuff, everything's just in Japanese, and it's you got to really study that stuff to understand it or grow up reading and writing and learning it. And it's not just something you pick up. You're like, oh yeah, that means this way. Like when you go to some European countries, you can kind of figure it out. But there you're like, I am in a foreign country big time. And it's just cool like to be in something like that.
Well, I think Czech Republic was like that because their written language is I think it's Cyrillic based, right? So I didn't understand any of that.
Yeah.
And that's where like even Mexico, when I first started going to Mexico, Google Translate was the biggest thing.
Mm-hmm.
That was a game changer, right?
Yeah.
And like even reading menus in Spanish, you translate it. So
yeah,
definitely necessary.
Technology's there. It won't be too long before you'll go like, hey, you're traveling, here's a little ear thing, and you put it in, and it just instantly translates what
it already
everybody's saying.
exists.
Does it?
Yeah.
Dang.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Elon's working on the brain implant, right? So,
yeah, we're just.
That's some Black Mirror stuff, right?
Yeah, it is. I don't know about that.
I don't know about that either.
Gary.
All right, let's talk about hats real quick.
Cool.
So you're wearing an American hat,
and
like American's your brand, or do you have like several different?
I've got several other ones, but I've stuck with American. It's what I like wearing, and I think the positive times thing is, translates from rodeo to anything you're doing, traveling music. That's something that always kind of drew me to that brand, and all the folks with American are really awesome. They've been really sweet to me in different times and welcoming. And yeah, so I'd stick with American.
Yeah, we love the guys over at American. They've been really good to us as well. We love their hats. I think they're a fantastic hat. And, we talked about this the other day. So evergreen, you have an evergreen. What is that your favorite color or?
It is right now.
Now.
I've been wearing it a ton and get a lot of compliments on it. I think it looks good.
Yeah, and we talked about it because even me, I have one, and I looked at that and I thought it was a chocolate when we were setting up. So it's a different hat, and it looks different under different lighting.
Yeah, I always thought that's cool. I've got like one of those midnight blue ones, and most of the time kind of looks black, but then like you move into a different light and you can see the blue, and I don't know.
Yes,
it's just cool.
I don't have a midnight blue. I've played with them over the years. I've shaped a few of them, refurbished a few of them, and I don't know. I just I never got one, so I think it's probably one that I need to put on the list for sure.
I have a question about hats.
Yeah.
Do you wear straw in the summer or do you wear felt all year long?
I wear straw in the summer for sure. Especially I got long hair, my head gets too hot.
Yeah.
So.
And when you tour with Three Doors, do you wear the hat too, or do you have a different look?
Not on stage. We move around, and I like headbang a lot, and then sometimes if I'm in a place like when we played Dickey's Arena and stuff, I put it on and come out for the encore just because I have the connection here. But yeah, most of the time, if we're off stage, I'll wear it. We're usually touring in the summer, so it's pretty much always a straw hat at that point.
What do your bandmates think of the Western persona and
they love it.
The Western youth?
They love it. They've always been really supportive of the music and me and Brad, our singer, him and his wife. They barrel race horses.
Is that right?
Yeah. So it's nothing like new to anybody. Everybody's been kind of in that world.
I figured it.
We played rodeos and all sorts of stuff too with Three Doors.
Yeah. Well, Three Doors, they have played what? 4 inaugurations? presidential inaugurations?
Just the one.
One? Both Bush? I thought it was both Bush.
Maybe they did the Bush ones. I think they did the Bush.
Yeah.
So Trump
once?
The first one, yeah.
Okay. All right. So at least 3, as far as I know, and obviously you're the expert on that. But I mean, that's kind of, that's a big deal, right? So
yeah, it's a huge honor.
Most bands never get to do any. And if they even got to do one, that's one thing, but Three Doors has done at least 3.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, that's a huge accomplishment and a big deal.
Pretty cool. It was an honor and a crazy experience and very nerve-wracking.
You were actually there for that one?
Yep.
Okay.
And yeah, it was crazy. Crazy experience. But another one of the things that was like a lot of stuff leading up to it, and it just went by fast, and we were like, wow, we just did that. And then I think one of the coolest things was we got to meet Toby Keith and played some shows with him, and that was just as cool. Yeah, he was super cool and got some great advice from him, and it ended up being just an awesome experience all around from that whole thing.
That's interesting. I had questions. Actually, I had thought about this earlier because you have the ability to travel and meet so many different people. Who's the most famous person in your cell phone right now in your contact list?
And can we call him?
Jeez, I don't know. I don't know. I can't think of anybody off the top of my head that I'm like, that's a really famous person. It's like, just know some people, I guess.
Yeah. And I guess.
I don't know. That's a good question. I have to think about it.
All right. Get back to us and we'll put it in the
I'll post the number in the comments.
Yes. No, we're not doing that.
Come on, let's call George. Come on.
George W.
Strait.
Oh, George Strait. Yeah, there you go. I mean, I'd be impressed for sure.
Yeah.
You got any more questions, Lena?
Well, I'm just curious as to the whole process of songwriting, and if you've ever been inspired by a jewelry piece, writing a song.
Yeah, I put I don't think it was any specific piece that I had made, but I have a song called Wild Mustangs, and in the song the guy proposes with a turquoise ring because they're out west, and so maybe.
It's funny you mentioned that song. That's one of my favorite songs of yours. We were just talking about this the other night.
Well, thank you. I'm about to do a re-release of it, so
yeah, I can't wait to see that because you did tell me it was off of social media at the moment. I looked this morning and it's not on. I couldn't find it on Instagram.
Yeah.
So let me know when that comes back out.
Yeah, it should be next couple months. I've got it lined up with a bunch of other singles.
All right.
Should be soon.
Sounds good. So a couple questions about art, I guess. In order to get the jewelry to its finished process, do you start with a design on paper? And if so, are you artistic as well in drawing?
Yeah. With like drawing and stuff, I feel like that's kind of something that you got to really like keep up with and practice.
Really?
Because I can sketch stuff pretty quick, but people that are like true drawing artists, they draw every day, and it's like a muscle. You got to keep, building it. But yeah, I mean, that's probably how I started doing art, was as a kid sketching stuff, and I always liked to draw comic book characters and draw mountain scenes. My granddad was very artistic too, and he did a lot of woodworking, and I remember he always used to like sketch these scenes on styrofoam coffee cups with a pen.
Oh, really?
And just draw little mountain scenes and cabins and stuff all around them. And I think I started kind of emulating him with that, and especially in school. Like, I always got in trouble because like all my paper was just filled with little doodles all over it. But yeah, I still sit down and sketch stuff, especially like if I'm doing something or if I'm somewhere that I can't, jump in the shop and start putting something together. If I'm traveling, try to keep something around that I can, like, oh, that'll be a cool belt buckle, and try to, sketch something out so I don't forget it. And it kind of helps me with the process sometimes too. If I'm sketching and be like, all right, I need to make this first and then solder it to that and then make this part and solder it to that and put this piece together like that. So
I didn't think about the technical aspect of that too. So I guess there's an order to how you put the jewelry together.
Yeah, sometimes it's, if you're casting, it's just the one thing, and you got to build the mold, so there's an order to that, and then sometimes the other stuff like bracelets and different things, like you got to think through your layers that you're putting on, and yeah.
So are all your pieces unique?
Yeah, there's some stuff that I make kind of on a regular basis once I got the design down, or especially like some of the hat stuff. You got this kind of arrow design, or like my little guitar pick pieces that I call hat picks. They're going to be unique in like whatever stone and like whatever piece it is. There's always going to be a little bit of nuance to it, and especially when you're working with turquoise, like you're never going to see two pieces that look exactly the same. But yeah, some pieces I can kind of make really similar or the same, and then everything else is going to be very unique and kind of one-off just from the nature of what you're using.
That necklace right there, is that
This one?
yes,
Bear claw.
Yeah, it's
it's a
black
bear
bear.
claw.
Yeah, black bear claw.
oh wow. Okay. How'd you get that?
A friend of mine traded them for him.
Oh, you didn't kill a bear.
No, I didn't know. No,
Okay. No bears were harmed in the making of these podcasts.
Oh, I bet they were, but
they were very much.
but we didn't do it,
They
right?
did not give those up willingly.
Pobrecito.
Yeah.
Yes.
It was a mean, ugly bear.
Yes, that's what it was.
Okay.
He was rabid.
Yeah.
He was rabid.
Yeah.
That's better.
Lorena is an animal lover, and yeah. So what's next for Justin? After you leave here, you have more touring to do, or what's next?
Yeah. I've always got shows coming up. Working on different ones. I'm gonna go home and crank out a bunch of jewelry since I've been gone, and try to get back on that, and then start lining up those songs. I said I got 7 singles put out, so I need to start putting those out and promoting them and doing all that kind of stuff. So, and then before too long, we'll have 3 Door stuff coming up in May, and July and August we'll be out with Creed again. So,
All right. So when you travel with those guys, is it months at a time, or is it just
be weeks at a time.
Weeks
and
at a
we typically, there was times when I first joined that like it would be like a month, or especially if you go to Europe.
right?
Just because once you get there, you want to hit as much as you can and come home, because it's not easy to come back and forth. But we, even when we tour now, it's usually Wednesday through Saturday, come home Sunday.
Okay.
There's nothing too crazy. It's not like I've been gone for 3 months and I don't know what day it is and where are we. Like, it's not that like cheesy rock and roll crap. It's pretty scheduled. We know what we're doing.
All right. Not tearing up hotel rooms.
No, God, you gotta pay
That's-
for that.
It's
Come
not about
on.
the Pink Floyd, that
I was-
I don't think anybody does that anymore because it's just so stupid.
Yeah.
It's very
It
80s.
was such a dumb thing that they did because they always had to go pay for it. And I don't think people really dig that like bad boy rock and roll thing anymore. I think, especially if you want anybody to like work with you in a reasonable way, like you better be respectful and you better have your stuff together.
Yeah.
And not be out, trashing hotel rooms.
That's something to think about, because I was just going to ask you, what's the craziest thing you've ever seen on tour?
Yeah. I guess that's a good question for sure.
I think I just told the story to somebody. I mean, there's a ton of them. People ask that question all the time, and I kind of go draw a blank. But we were playing, I think it was in North Dakota, and big crowd, normal setup, and from the first song, it was knockdown, drag out fights, and it was nothing but women there beating the dog crap out of each other.
Why?
I don't know. Like, I guess the whole place decided, like, tonight's the night, we're going to settle this once and for all. And every couple songs, there'd be, like, women, like, hitting each other like boxers, grown men just fighting. Security was throwing people out left and right. And I was just like, what is going on up here?
Was this a 3 Doors concert?
Yeah.
And so you're thousands of people at
Yeah,
that point.
a lot of people there, and they were man, they wanted to fight, and it was primarily women.
Wow.
Like it wasn't like drunk dudes, like hey,
Yeah.
like, it was like dead stare and just knocking the crap out of each other. It was just like never seen that before.
Did someone stop it?
Security tried, but they can only do so much. You know, they grab the people that are fighting and get them out, but then there's 2 more people right behind them that are doing the same thing. So it was a pretty rowdy show.
Does that break your concentration as a
Oh yeah, I mean it's tough to think about what you're doing when that stuff is going on. Like people think you don't see much up there, and like sometimes depending on the lights you see a little bit. And we can see a lot that's going on. So if people start fighting and acting stupid, we see it.
Yeah.
So the audience gives a show too.
Yeah.
I guess so.
Yeah. Something like that.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So if the people want to see you perform live, where can they find information on where you're going to be?
Usually Instagram's the easiest one nowadays. Instagram, Facebook, it's all under my name. And then justinbiltonen.com. I'll try to update that as best as I can. And yeah, that's pretty much the way to do it these days. Bands in Town is another good app. I try to keep that updated because you get alerts if you go follow an artist, and like every artist is on it, so you can find everybody. But it's kind of geared to let you know if someone's coming into your area or whatever show's going on.
We need that app.
Yeah, we do.
We don't have that.
That's a good app. It works.
All right. So we'll have to check into that. So Justin 3 Doors Down on Instagram.
Yep.
Justin Biltonen on Facebook. And then Sacred West Vintage on Instagram
Mhm.
and Facebook.
And Facebook.
And then sacredwestvintage.com for the jewelry.
Yep.
All right. We will put links to all of that below. If you guys
Thank
are
you.
interested, absolutely.
Are you on TikTok?
Yes, I am. I always forget to put that one because I just don't like doing it. But it's the same. It's the same on too. That's Justin 3 Doors Down. So I try to get on there and play. And a buddy of mine suggested doing like the TikTok live thing.
Yes.
Apparently, it's popular right now. So
Yeah.
I will give it a shot.
I posted a video of your concert on Saturday.
Yeah.
And it has a lot of comments. They were sorry they missed it because they had to work,
Oh, cool.
and all that. So yeah.
Great.
Yeah, Lorena does all of our TikTok and Instagram reels, so she'll be putting all of this onto TikTok
Awesome.
later after we publish it. So
Good deal.
we usually do this live, but because of your schedule, we did a recorded podcast, and you guys will get to see this if you're watching it now as soon as it's released. But we will put all of Justin's contact information below, and if you're interested in any of his jewelry, there'll be a link for that as well. So, Justin, we really appreciate you coming out and spending some time with us. We were glad we got to finally hook up and see you perform here this week. And next time you're in town, let us know, and we'll be back.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thanks for having me. This was fun.
Absolutely. Thanks, guys, and we'll see you in the next one.
Thanks for watching.